Hey there, Culture Drop. Galen here. Today, I'm going to be talking about how do you call something out? How do you bring up a difficult conversation in the moment and say something to somebody? And also, how do you apologize or like make amends when you need to in the moment? Yeah, I'm going to share a little like personal story here for this one. This question actually came from the survey. Everybody gets the survey on the Culture Drop, and I read every one of those many, many times and suggestions for ideas. And I saw a common theme of like, how do you have difficult conversations? Also, how do you like make amends when something happens? Also, time out before I do this. Sometimes people ask for topics that we've already covered in Culture Drop. Every single video that we make goes on our YouTube channel. You can search for them, but if you subscribe there, you can look back over like, how do you have difficult conversations with your boss? Or there's like literally every topic we've ever covered is on our YouTube channel. So a great resource. Some people ask for topics that I'm like, I've already covered that. So now you know. Okay, great, let's get into this. So on the survey for suggestion topics, a number of things came up that are like, how do you call out someone's bad behavior? How do you have a difficult conversation with someone? How do you like bring up something that like might be sensitive or you don't know how someone will react? And also I think this goes along with somewhat, there's some Venn diagram here for like calling out like racism, homophobia, microaggressions, that kind of things. Like how do you address something in the moment and bring it up? Even if this happens like later after the fact, it doesn't have to necessarily be in the moment. And what I want to share with you is a personal story that happened to me this last week that I thought was great. A friend of mine and I were hanging out at the store. I had made a comment about something. It was like teasing about some kind of thing. And they were a master class in being like, hey, can I share some feedback with you? Can we talk about something really quick? And I was like, yes, of course. And they're like, hey, when you say this thing, I know that you mean to tease, or you know that you mean to joke, or like, here's the intention that I believe that you have, which I think is really important to say, like, I believe that your intention was to support me, was to say something positive, to not hurt my feelings, but the impact that that had was this, and this is why. Like when you say that to me, it causes this in me, it has this reaction, it causes this impact on me that like doesn't feel great, and I don't love it. And they were very gentle, like, I'm not totally mad at you, but like you should be aware of this because it doesn't feel great, and I don't want to not address it. First of all, a couple things. Really important to be gentle. If something can make us feel triggered in the moment or upset or like very emotional, and to be like, hey, that's mean or whatever, where immediately we sort of like pour gas on a situation. And I think that like the number one thing is it's very effective to make the other person not immediately become defensive by staying emotionally neutral, which is like, hey, I'd love to share some feedback with you. I'd love to have a conversation. This might be actually a little bit uncomfortable for me to bring up to you, but I want to have this conversation with you because I care about our relationship, because I want us to have a healthy, solid relationship here. Are you open to hearing some feedback? Again, asking for permission. Can I share this thing with you? Of course, that person will like almost always be like, yes, of course. And then just be like, here's this thing, not you're a bad person, I'm accusing you of this thing. The thing you said was, even if it was like to the extreme, like that was a really racist thing to say, to be like, I think your intention was to compliment me, or I think your intention is not to have this impact on me, but what that actually did was cause this impact on me, and it doesn't feel great. And I just want you to be aware of that, because maybe you're not aware that impact has, and like that's not an okay thing to say to me, or it doesn't feel great. I think that's a really great, nice way to approach something. This is on a friend level, with a coworker, a leader, whatever, just in the moment, to like gently have that conversation with that person and be clear and direct and succinct, but say, hey, this didn't feel great. This was the impact it had. I think is lovely. The other thing I wanted to mention, and this is not to make myself look good, but I think the apology and the amends and the response to that is also very important, because this is where in relationships and friendships, this is where like the static happens, where you say a thing, I'm like, that's not what I intended. We can be deflective or defensive. I think I did a good job of just being like, hey, thank you for sharing that. This is what I heard you say. I understand where you're coming from. Just validating that, but just being like, I apologize. That was not my intent. My intent was to do this. I didn't realize it had that impact. And like, truly, I'm sorry. I don't want to hurt your feelings. I don't want to like say something that makes you feel crappy. That's not, we're friends. I care about you. So I think that's also really important to stay neutral, like stay emotionally kind of like flat. Just be like, hey, thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. What you said is valid. Right? Again, to me, all that matters was the impact I had, not what I intended. And there's a natural inclination to be like, I'm just teasing, or like this, it's about something that's so minor. Like, why would you take that personally or be offended, right? I feel like you're choosing to be offended. It doesn't matter. The impact that I had on this person was negative, and I care about my relationship with this person. So it's like, to make amends, acknowledge. I think that's really important. So a great question. I think some useful tools and tips to think about in your life, like in the moment, to have the presence of mind to respond in those ways, to address those things in those ways, and like prioritize and like keep that relationship intact and healthy. So cool, some thoughts. Thank you. Thanks for watching and tuning in. Subscribe to our channel. We put a lot of content on here. You can also subscribe to the Culture Drop mailing list and get these emails in your inbox every Tuesday morning. Follow our social media channels. Put a lot of free content out about just being more awesome and building great teams.